大家好，阿弥陀佛. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Sutra lecture today. My name is Heng Sure. Today is Monday, the 10th of February, here in the Gold Coast of Queensland. It should be Sunday night in California, the 9th of February. My goodness, we're into the new year properly. We are going to continue our series of explanations of the Avatamsaka Sutra's 10 Transferences chapter. So if you are interested in joining us, you are in the right place. Thank you all for coming. 我们继续讲解我们的大方广佛华严经十回向品的佛学讲座欢迎各位来参加那么我乔眼庆上下，然后呢强小娜从北京要请法，那我们先行三问讯礼。Ms. Chung is going to request Dharma in just a moment. We're going to first make 3 half bows to the Buddha. So I hope you're with me, and here we go. 一问讯，再问讯，三问讯。好的，长小娜，你想请法，你现在可以开始。
恭请大德僧听，为此法会集一切众生，请转妙法轮，教导我们如何了生脱死，离苦得乐，速证无生。唯有这Sangha with the great virtue of the compassion for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dhamma wheel to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and birth and death, and quickly relay number.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi samyao samputoshye.
Namo sadanto suchedoye alahadi samyao samputoshye.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 好的，感恩。All right, 长小娜We have the Dharma request all the way from Beijing, which I think is quite wonderful, and I appreciate the request. I will be happy to step in on behalf of living beings to investigate the sutra and see what we can make from it, see what kind of wisdom we can get today. Let's continue and invite the presence of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. 我们继续延请这个说华严海会佛菩萨天龙八部护法上身莅临道场参加我们的法会。 Furthermore, we would like to 我们恭敬地承认后某人是我们寺院所在地的传统许世者和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从来没有放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。We would like to acknowledge respectfully the Pomo people who practice their spiritual connections to the earth and to all creation here in Ukiah Valley for tens of thousands of years, and today we acknowledge them as traditional custodians and original storytellers of these lands and offer our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and to all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. Bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000劫内，佛法扬万亿国中，共训其法界和平，利益报他的厚德。Okay, may it be so. All right. There we go. Anyone who listened to my lecture yesterday from Entering the Dharma Realm, chapter 39 of the Avatamsaka, will know what's going on here. If not, let me explain. 如果哪一位参加昨天这个第39品入法界品的讲座，就会认识这个我左上这个句面是怎么一回事。This is an encounter between Sudhana, Shanzai Tongzi, and his next teacher. In this case, it's teacher number 5, depending on how you count. Some people say 6, others say 4. His name is Megha, Lord Megha. He's an elder. And what you're looking at, this is his Dharma seat right there in the center. And he's not on it. He has an audience waiting for him to continue his Dharma talk. These people here are holding offerings. Up above here, there are, we have devas, we have Dharma protectors, both human and non-human, lots of gods up in the clouds. And down here in the left corner is where the interesting action is taking place. This is Megha himself, Lord Megha. And here in a cloud with a halo is Sudhana. He is our pilgrim. The cloud indicates he's traveling. The halo indicates he's a sage, or is soon to become a sage anyway. And what's interesting is the teacher, his new teacher, is on his knees bowing to him. 就是这么一回事呢，就是上菜童子的次一位介绍的一位这个上知识，他叫弥劫上人。他呢，在本来上菜童子还没到，他就坐在这个法座上讲法。你看他的观众，他的听众就在那等着合掌。还有这3位手里拿着一些供养品。上边呢是有天人众，还有这个人，还有非人，这个可能是天龙八部的一位大神王，然后他所保护的人在前边，那么所有意思的就是左脚这里，这个是那个上知识叫弥劫，他呢跪拜， 你看他就在他的膝盖上在那向这个人来叩头。这个人是谁呢？那么你们当然认识，就是上菜童子。上菜童子这个云彩是表示他在那儿走路，他是行脚，他在参访，就要找他下一位上知识。他那个微光是表示他是可能还没有成佛，他有成佛的机会，就是。那么这个有意思的就是弥劫，虽然是师傅，他给徒弟叩头，你们懂吗？啊，这个是有比较特别，怎么会这个上知识就像弟子在那跪拜，就是你们要参加我们的讲座，你才明白。我给你一个 hint， 是因为上菜童子已经发菩提心的关系。So somebody's going to say, why in the world is the teacher giving the disciple a bow? And the answer is, it has to do with the question, have you made the Bodhi resolve? Shanzai Tongzi says, yes, I have. And so Lord Megha goes, oh, wow, in that case, I will bow to you. He goes on to make offerings as well. So quite a wonderful situation in the sutra. And I need to explain a little bit more of the context. This is Mahayana Buddhism's epic literature. This is an epic story of a pilgrim who goes out and risks it all for the sake of Buddhahood, sets it all down, sees through it all, and in the process of doing that, he meets these 53 teachers. So that search has motivated artists over the centuries to capture his pilgrimage in images. And so I've been out looking for all the interesting stories of Sudhana. Here's another one. Take a look here. This is another image of Sudhana meeting Megha. In this case, Megha is not bowing to him. And Sudhana is pictured as a baby wearing bare butt cheeks diapers. And we know, anybody who's listened to my lectures, I'm pointing out that is not the case. Sudhana is 20 years old. He's a strapping, strong, vigorous young man who is capable of walking for years and covering India, in this case, seeking the Dharma. Not a baby, not a child, but artists heard the word Tongzi and depicted him as a Chinese child, an infant. So that's a little bit of discrepancy there. 还有一点，大家如果你们参加我的讲座系列，你们知道，上菜童子，这是我们汉传佛教大乘佛法的一个 epic. Epic. Anybody are my Chinese consultants listening? How do you say an epic literature, epic saga in Chinese? I don't know. 就说这么一个年轻人发菩提心，求就说要证佛成佛，所以他要去找53个善知识。Let's see here. Epic. 历史 is that it? 历史是吗 ？OK. 历史好。Epic story. Epic literature 这种文学这种故事是有这么一个英雄，就出门离开家庭，到了let's see here. 始 ，OK， 始师哦，始师 is that it？ 始师 ，all right， 始师 ，thank you， 林峰 got it，and 张金波 ，OK good， 始师，历史的史，史诗，这并不是诗，这是一种故事是文学，是一种，好像是有一部分是文学，应该怎么说 ？So I need to let's see if I can say it right. An epic literature contains how does a story become an epic? There's a hero, there's a quest, there's danger, he's wounded in the process, and transformed, he returns home successful. The hero, he or she. I don't know if I can translate that for myself. 什么叫史诗呢？是就说有个英雄，他出门有危险，他探险，他继续走，遇到很多困难，在半途中他就受伤了，然后所有的问题，他就因为发大心克服了，回来成功，就是 epic。上菜童子其中一个，因为这个关系呢，很多艺术家，历代艺术家就要画，上菜童子的5333的会遇，他们就碰到面对他所有的师傅，就画一幅画。奇怪的是，他们艺术家不读华严经，不知道故事的内容，结果呢，听到名字童子上菜童子，就把上菜童子画成一个婴儿，画成一个小孩子，一个痴子，穿那个尿布的，落他的屁股这样子，他不是这样子的。他虽然是童子，就是说没有结婚而已。他20岁，上菜童子是非常就是血气方刚的一个少年，不然的话怎么会走那么多年在就说落风的有成语there's a wonderful phrases that talk about not fearing the difficulties of the weather, right? 他不怕风，不怕雨，这样子不怕困难，他就继续走，一直到底，一直到成功，那就是上菜童子。不过我们可以看到这次密切长者的这个所会面的。So anyway, we even though Sudhana is depicted incorrectly here, we still get the flavor of the unique quality of this episode, which is Megha hears Sudhana has made the Bodhi resolve. He gets down off his Dharma seat and goes and bows to the kid, bows to the student. That's very interesting. Okay, we are moving on to, we're continuing our study of true suchness. True thusness sometimes? Thusness. Suchness. Such thusness. And here it is. As you will remember, here is the pattern. The pattern goes just the way true suchness, something, 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 Bodhisattva's dedication of their good roots is the same in that it, something, something. This pattern is repeated 100 times. We're in the first third of it. 这个模型可以这么说吗？这个方法呢，就说譬如真如，就是个比喻，怎么样怎么样，一切法什么什么，善菩萨善根回向也一样的，怎么样怎么样，就是100次有这个pattern 就回来了。Okay, so what is 真如? What are we getting? We are getting descriptions of the most sacred, the holiest aspect of human life, described 100 times by analogies. What's it like? What is the Buddha nature like? What is nirvana like? What is the Dharma nature like? That's true suchness. And the funny thing is, not funny, the truth of it is, it has no name. You can't find it, you can't describe it, so we use 100 analogies to tell you what it's like. That is what's going on here. Did I make that point here? Yes, here we go. What is the Buddha nature like? Since it's nameless, we use 100 analogies to capture it. Sort of. Right? 就说这个第八回向它的特点有100个比喻说真如相，就因为涅槃，因为佛性，因为法，一切法的法性，因为涅槃，因为菩提没有名字，也已经超过语言的范围，没办法就说解释到底，所以呢，我们就用100个比喻，说就是最灵的、最妙的一件事。How do we describe it? 所以需要用比喻来描写、形容。Now, here's the interesting thing. Judaism. If you're Jewish, you don't name God. God is Yahweh. Is kind of it's illegal in Judaism to say the name of God. Yod He Vav He is just describing letters that would capture the name. In Islam, there are no pictures of God. You say Allah and you say praise His name, and it's a very and you talk to Him 5 times a day. So in Islam, for believers who practice, for cultivators of the sacred tradition, Allah is sort of, it's a space, it's all the goodness in the world. And you talk about Muhammad, his prophet, and praise his name. So likewise, you can't capture it in language, and you may not draw a picture, no images of the holy in Islam. Now, Hinduism and all the different aspects of Hinduism is slightly different in that there are all these different encounters, lots of images of Vishnu and Shiva and Rama and Brahma. So the attempts to capture it artistically in India has been something that people have done forever. But the names are, again, a challenge. In Buddhism, there are many different ways to approach the ultimate, and yet, what do you say about it? It's 不可心思，不可言意. You can't think of it and you can't talk about it. It goes because when you get rid of the self, there's nothing but this unnameable, untouchable, unmeasurable essence that is everything and everywhere, and yet language, which is just like a bubble in the ocean, can't capture it. So we give it analogies. Okay, so this is all preamble, and we haven't touched the sutra yet. 就说其他的宗教呢，包括犹太教，包括伊斯兰教，包括这个印度教不一样的，佛教没有办法把这个大道给它一个名字，超过语言的能力来说明，超过那个意识的能力来想透这个真实的情形。所以呢，我们就用比喻100个比喻来说，它差不多这样子。你知道这个是怎么一回事呢？那你可以知道这个是怎么，因为一样的这样子。OK， 那我就I'll stop preaching and start reading. Here we go. Let's try. Make it a little bigger. There we go. Here's today's section. We ready? 譬如真如体性坚固，善根回向亦复如是。体性坚固，非诸惑恼之所能具。Just as the essence of true thusness is intrinsically resolute, so too is their dedication of good roots, the essence of which is intrinsically resolute, and therefore impervious to delusions and afflictions. Okay. Now, a lot of words here. This one comes up a lot. Intrinsically. Up above, we didn't have intrinsic. Intrinsic. Okay, what is this? What does it mean to be intrinsically resolute? Don't you wonder? 体性坚固. Okay. 体 body, 性 nature, 坚固 solid, durable, unbreakable, steady. All those words for 坚固. By nature, by substance in body and in nature. The nature doesn't have a body. The nature is inside the body, you could say. The nature, when it takes a body, is embodied, but the nature is not the body. The body contains the nature, and what is it? 坚固, stable and solid. That's how we get intrinsically resolute, I guess. Okay, I shouldn't be snarky. It's hard to translate, isn't it? You say body and nature solid. How does the nature get solid? So, 就说体性坚固呢，体就身体，性就是里边的这个东西。那个性变成物质的时候，你就有个体，那个体包容这个性。他们两个怎么样呢？坚固。坚固就说，不会变，也不会坏，也不会动，这样子，所以就坚固。Intrinsically resolute. Okay, now I know that inquiring minds want to know, so I prepared some intrinsic. Put that away. Some intrinsic stuff. Here we go. What is intrinsic? Intrinsic, it's an adjective. It means inherent, essential, and belonging naturally. The word natural is important. It's just part of something. It refers to qualities or characteristics fundamental to the nature of a thing rather than being dependent on external factors. 什么叫 intrinsic? 这个中文如果要哪一个字就是 intrinsic， 应该说性。 性呢，他说体性就是性，就说这个就是一个形容词，内在的这个东西了啊，内在的 quality， 就说本来有属于一个东西，已经有了啊，不依靠外援，是这样子，所以就叫 intrinsic， 内在的性本来都有啊 ，OK。好比说呢，给两个比喻 ，Here are two examples. The intrinsic value of gold is what makes it sought after for centuries. 就是黄金的性是，所以呢，好几百年了，大家追求这个黄金，就要的这个黄金，或者呢 ，She had an intrinsic love for music, which was evident from a young age, meaning it was inherent in her. She had it inside, all along, from childhood. 就说某某女人，她这么偏爱音乐，从年纪轻的时候，从小的时候都会看到，本来都有。这个女孩来了，她就带来她的偏爱音乐。Okay, now what about the root of intrinsic? I knew you'd ask. Comes from late Latin, meaning inward or on the inside. That's intrinsicus, and then intra, within, and seco, following. So when we got to French, it was intrinsic, keeping the meaning of something inherent. OK， 就说拉丁语这个字的根是什么？拉丁语 intrinsicus 就说在里边了，里边有，然后跟着里边的所在。All right, there we go. Now, these 100 analogies of the eighth transference answer this. What is the Buddha nature like? What is the Bodhisattva's transference like? Two questions are answered here. What is the Buddha nature like? And what is the Bodhisattva's transference like? Because they are the same. There we go. So these 100 analogies say, if we can know just Piru Janru, what is the Buddha nature? What is true suchness? What is true suchness like? And it means the Buddha nature, the Bodhi mind, etc., etc. Since it's nameless, we kind of capture it with 100 analogies. And then from that, we learn what the Bodhisattva's transference is like. Okay? That's what we're doing here. 我们在这100个比喻就有答复3个问题，就是说答复2个问题，然后因为是比喻放在一起。第一呢，真如怎么一回事？真如就是说佛性，就说菩提性，就说法性。涅槃，涅槃真如法性菩提性是什么呢？这是第一个问题。因为没有名字啊，所以呢，我们用100个比喻来差不多说明。这是第一个问题。第二个问题就是说，菩萨的回向是怎么一回事？尤其第8回向，这是第二个问题。那能答复第一个呢，你就明白第二个；能明白第二个呢，就答复第一个问题，因为它们是一样的。所以比喻就是这样子。All right, so far so good. How are we doing? Everybody with me so far? Doug Powers of Sage. Oh, get that much? Okay. Now, There we go. So far, true suchness is all-pervasive without boundaries or limits. 真如是怎么样 all-pervasive. 真如是怎么样呢？就说普遍，没有边际。Intrinsically ultimate. Look at the intrinsics here. Intrinsically ultimate. 就说究竟啊，那么不变，永远不变。Intrinsically devoid of substance. 没有体性。Characterized by marklessness. 没有相，无相。Those who realize true thusness are irreversible. 不退转。It is the field of practice of all Buddhas. 就说诸佛修行的地方，诸佛行处。Listen, look at this one. Apart from the phenomenal world while being one with the phenomenal world. 那个佛性真如就说已经离开世界，还常在跟世界一样的。Okay? So here they are. So far, wow. This is only a third of them. Okay, let's continue. Is this fun? Are people enjoy like looking at it this way? Trying to make sense of it. Why would the Huayan Jing, why would the Avatamsaka Sutra give us 100 of this strange construction? It's because it answers questions which bodhisattvas and we who enjoy learning about bodhisattvas ask. What is the ultimate? What's holy? What is sacred? How do you describe it? And how does it relate to this practice of transference? Okay. 就说第八回向呢，答复两个问题，就说我们想知道什么叫真如，什么叫究竟的境界，佛的境界。同时呢，我们想知道它呢跟第八回向的菩萨回向用这个法门有什么关系呢？所以这么说就一次答复两个问题。OK， 譬如真如不可破坏，善根回向亦复如是，一切众生不能损坏。众生不能损坏这个善根回向，应该说不会回向，众生还没改，我们不失望，不放弃。Just as true suchness is indestructible, so too is their dedication of good roots indestructible by any living being. How could a living being destroy transference? Okay, you are here dedicating merit, transferring, dedicating merit. And they don't change. They're just as dark as ever, and you don't give up. The lack of success in having the living being change doesn't discourage you from continuing. How about that? Okay. We had So, okay. 譬如真如照明为体，善根为相，亦复如是，以普照明而为其性。Just as true thusness is intrinsically radiant, so too is their dedication of good roots intrinsically radiant. Yeah, okay. So let's look at the Chinese. 譬如真如, here's our standard practice, standard structure. What is it like? What is true thusness like? 照明为体. 照明, shining light as its nature, shining light as its substance, as its body. Our translator, I think correctly, didn't say substance, didn't say body, said intrinsic, meaning more than the body. It's inside the body and one with it. Can't be distinguished from, can't be divided from. So that's what it means to be intrinsic. So that's what we know Zhenru is like that. the transference of good roots by bodhisattvas is the same way. That's our practice, our pattern. In that, 普照明而为其性. Bodhisattvas transfer merit intrinsically 普照明, everywhere shining. What do we need to visualize that? Anybody see a lighthouse recently? Okay, here we go. Here's the lighthouse. Get on Highway 1. Start from San Francisco and head south. California Highway 1. You travel. You go down through Half Moon Bay. You keep on going, and you get to a place called Pigeon Point. I'm looking at a fat pigeon here. These pigeons are almost round. They're so fat. White-headed pigeon. So Pigeon Point, it's right on the coast. It is a coast because why? It's a lighthouse. The lighthouse is operated by the Coast Guard. So here, we can actually, let's see here. There we go. Pigeon Point Lighthouse. So I'm telling you about this because you can, next time you're driving south from San Francisco, you can see a lighthouse. Here's the map. You can see. Oh, here we go. Get an image of it here. Here we are. There's Pigeon Point Lighthouse. It's currently open, and it's a park. They recently remodeled it. The value of the light from the lighthouse, and you saw, here it is. Now, if you are a ship coming up from the south, you can very easily run aground. You might bang right into this and sink, capsize. So the lighthouse, here's the picture of it. The lighthouse is here to tell you, avoid the rocks, avoid the coast. Do not, oh, goodness, we got a, very nice. Now, for those of you who are only listening and can't see it, we just saw a video of taken of the point on Pigeon Point where the lighthouse is. Now, the value of the lighthouse is that its light, 普照明, shines on all sides, so that anybody who is navigating at sea can, in the dark, at night, who might easily miss the fact that, oops, we want the map to come back, please. Can we get our map back? Let's see. There we go. If in the dark at night you could run aground, so the light shines on all sides. Probably in this case it doesn't shine behind, but 普, it can shine on all sides to warn any navigator, any mariner coming along, that there is solid ground there and the ship needs to be careful, can avoid it. That's the 普 part. 就说一个灯塔就在海边，当然那个海岸、海滩，它的光明就圆形360度 或者呢，就是说180度就照亮晚上黑暗，有船航过去，船看到灯光，知道那边有陆地，小心要避免，不然的话你就撞了，就沉下去。所以这个灯塔的它的好处呢，是它的光明普照明为体，普照明而为体性这样子。所以菩萨回向也是这样子的，菩萨他360度没有众生不受他的回向的好处。Okay, so bodhisattvas are the same way as the lighthouse. That is to say, their light shines out, their transference shines out, and any living being who is close by can receive the benefit of their merit and virtue and gain the goodness and increase in merit. So a lighthouse is a really good example of 普照明 shining everywhere for the intrinsic nature of the bodhisattva's dedication. 譬如真如无所不在，善根回向亦复如是，于一切处悉无不在。Just as true thusness is omnipresent, so too is their dedication of good roots omnipresent. Okay, omnipresent. Interesting choice of words. It just means nowhere lacking. You can't find a place where it's not. It is everywhere. It's everywhere. Probably if you translated everywhere instead of omnipresent, but omnipresent will do. It's good enough. 就说无所不在，真如就是这样子的，菩萨回向也是，因为菩萨的心现在没有我相遮盖这个光明，他的回向，所以修行这个回向的法门一开始不是这样子，因为我愿意他快成佛，他慢一点成佛没有关系啊，因为我不喜欢他，这样子呢就是有障碍、有偏见所以光明不会普照，不会无所不在。慢慢的修行，没有朋友，也没有敌人没有近，没有远所以就现在这个回向的时候，所有的众生都会梦到这个好处。All right? At this point, the Bodhisattva doesn't have favorites. And so when they transfer merit, they don't they don't exclude the Republicans when they transfer. In fact, they transfer more to the Republicans, so they wake up sooner. Okay. 无悉无不在 everyone. There's nowhere where it's not. 譬如真如遍一切时，善根回向亦复如是，遍一切时。Just as true thusness is ever present, so too is their dedication of good roots ever present. Okay, this is a pair with the previous one. Omnipresent is space and location. Ever present, that's why this should be everywhere. Ever present is time. So, meaning never not there in time. This is never not there by location. It's everywhere and every time. Every place and everywhere. Every place and every time. Omnipresent could be the second one actually by time, and everywhere could be place. So time and space are both contained in the nature of true suchness and also in the Bodhisattva's transference. 前一个跟这个呢是一对，就说无所不在就是放偏一切时就是时就是空间还有时间 常在。什么常在呢？真如常在，菩萨回向常在，包括 time and space， 就是地方还有时间，没有无所不在的。OK， all right。譬如真如性常清净，善根回向亦复如是，住于世间而体清净。Just as true suchness is forever pure by nature, so too is their dedication of good roots, despite abiding in the world, yet remaining forever pure by nature. Here we have the standard classic definition of the Bodhisattva, adapted for use here in true suchness. What is it? True suchness is always pure, and Bodhisattva's dedication is to never mind that bodhisattvas are in the world, they remain pure forever. There's nothing now for defilement to cling to. Defilement doesn't stick because the defilement, where would defilement stick? Self. Self is gone. It's been given up for the sake of living beings. So defilement washes right off. Okay, Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean. Alrighty. 因为那个我相、我见已经没有了，就被修掉的。所以呢，任何这个污浊的东西、不清净的东西，没办法落到这个菩萨的这个本性。因为已经清净了，所以跟我们不一样了我们就说有我所有，那就有不清净的机会还在。菩萨现在已经不是第八回向的菩萨。譬如真如于法无碍，善根回向亦复如是，周行一切而无所碍。Just as true suchness is unhindered by phenomena, so too is the dedication of good roots unhindered in its operation amid everything. This is a challenge to translate. Yeah, this is tough. So, what's it like? Let's use our formula. It's like true suchness, true thusness, yu fa wu ai, which does not get blocked by dharmas. When it comes to dharmas, no obstacle. So, just the way true suchness, unhindered by phenomena. Wow, that sentence has been to college. Unhindered by phenomena. Comes to dharmas, no block, it says in Chinese. When you talk about dharmas, there's nothing stops it. The Bodhisattva's transference of good roots is the same way, which is what? 周行一切 goes everywhere. 周行 travels around everywhere. 而无所碍 doesn't get blocked. That's simpler translation. Look at this. Unhindered in its operation amid everything. Yeah, you see what the translator is working for. Unhindered in its operation. Yeah, as it, the Chinese again, Chinese sometimes just gets right to the point. 周行, 周, around, circular, everywhere. 行, traveling, everywhere, 一切. And as it goes everywhere, no block. Doesn't stop. Nothing stops it. What are we talking about? Bodhisattva's transference. Over, under, around, and through. Bodhisattva's transference touches, reaches, gets to every living being's nature. So, okay, how is that possible? The answer is, look to the Bodhisattva's mind that is doing the transference. Because the human mind is, without doubt, the most powerful single radiator generator of energy in the world. It creates everything. So the analogy to true suchness being everywhere is the same as the bodhisattva's transference. When they transfer, every living being can touch it once the bodhisattva's mind is clear. If the bodhisattva's mind is still full of fighting and greed and seeking and selfishness and self-benefit and dishonesty, that's another story. It'll be a while before their transference, 周行一切而无所在, is unhindered in its operation amid everything, right? So, but that's not the case now with these bodhisattvas. 就说人的心是应该说，一切为心造，能造一切，所以人的心的力量是最大的。为什么我的心还不算呢？因为有争、有贪、有求、有自私、有自利、有妄语。没有那6个问题的话，6个烦恼，哇，这个心呢是最大的，它的力量最大。回向的时候，每个众生都会出道。All right, now I want to ask everybody, do you think that the human mind's power is the most awesome, most formidable in French thing in the world? Most powerful? Margaret Mead said, there is nothing more powerful than a single person's changing their mind and deciding on a purpose. Every change in human society comes from that. Right on, Margaret Mead. If so, what about AGI? Artificial General Intelligence. People are saying with absolute confidence, and I mean, I listen to podcasts about AI, about artificial intelligence, and people, for example, Anthropic, Dario Amodei is, along with his sister, interestingly, are the science officers and CEOs of Anthropic, and their agent, Claude, they've released. And Claude is a very interesting AI personality, person, being, sentient thing. None of the above. Not sentient, not a person, not a being. It's a AI bot. It's a service. Because they say it is reasonable. They're hoping to differ it from ChatGPT, for example, because it can reason. And you can ask it, and people are treating Claude very much like a friend, like an advisor, like an associate, like a counselor, and asking it to think things through. And it performs remarkably, different from ChatGPT's ability to program and be a superior Google knowledge base. So Claude has this ability. Listening to Dario, who is very much responsible for Claude, and I am a user of AI in answering questions very directly without the answers you get when you pose a question to a chatbot. You don't have to wade through advertisements like you do at Google, for example. Now, Google, mind you, has its own chatbot, which they would say, oh, ask it directly. All right. But Dario Amodei and other, Sam Altman and others, people who are creating AI bots, AI robots, talk about a time when their bot their large language model will have an ability matching the human mind. And so here in the eighth transference, our bodhisattva is saying when the bodhisattva Hui Xiang Shangen gives out a gift of good roots, of goodness that they, by transference using this method, yu fa wu ai, nothing stops it. It zhou xing yi qie wu suo ai. It doesn't, nothing stops it. It goes everywhere. Because the not a bot, it's not a robot, it's the human mind without obstacles, without ignorance, without attachments, has this power to touch everything. This is not a fiction. This is not a fantasy. This is not a projection. This is the human mind at its best. And I take it literally. I think this is not a description of, something else. This is what the mind can do at this level of cultivation, uncovered. And when I hear the projections of AGI is said to be the time when, and it's not here yet, they project in the future, maybe 2026, maybe 2027. The large language models will be able to do the same. I don't believe it. I think it's because they haven't read the Avatamsaka Sutra. They haven't taken the Buddha's description of the mind cultivated through the Dharma seriously, or they just don't know. So anyway, as we translate and discuss these advanced descriptions of the human mind, we're charting, I think, uncharted territory. We're mapping, or at least in terms of making it available in English, is what I should say. So this is significant, and take it seriously, right? 我就说，现在第八回向，菩萨在这里回向的时候，他这个光明普照，遍一切处，遍一切时，无所就说而无所碍 ，right？ 没有什么障碍。怎么样讲？就说人的心用佛法来修行，到这个地步呢，第八回向，他的力量都会慢慢的显出来。这是一个人的心修行修成了，到这个地步呢，他回向的时候上一个灯塔，就有这个大的力量。那么人智功能，说到明年还是后年，都会到一个 AGI 就说那个时候机器跟人的心一样，有一样力量一样大。他们这些工程师估计说到那个时候，我们都到了 AGI。Anybody got an English translation of a Chinese translation of AGI for me, please? 我旁听这些podcast，就Anthropic 还有 ChatGPT 的领袖，他们都说明年，或者有的就说已经到了，已经有，就是还没有发表，还没有报告。他们的机器，它的能力跟人的心的能力就一样大。我就说不会吧，没有这么一回事，就是 他们还在语文，他们还在这个思考人工通用智能可能，人工智用let's see 人工let's see 通用人工智能，通用人工智能 OK 通用人 AGI 他们没有读华严经，除非他们会看中文那么看中文不一定会读华严经的工程师。现在第八回向还没有到佛的智慧，一样会普照这个回向，普照他们的功德，所有的众生都会预照，都会得好处。华严经解释人的心的功能，你如果把无明修掉了，化了，这个体性真如体性的功能是真正的 AGI sorry that's the wrong thing 真正的通用人工智能 AGI 对了所以他们就说AGI 明年后年都会有了，无明还在，语言还在，这个执着还在，而且呢是 programmed 很大的限制，所以我就说对不起，我说还没有胡闹，还没有到那个时候。你先读华严经，知道人的心未来的功能，你再说吧 right? So I say to those engineers, bless your heart, my friend, you don't know what you're talking about, because you're the minds that created the large language models are still bound by language, they're still bound by ignorance, they're still bound by duality. They might be fast, they might be able to parse and scrape every printed word that's ever been posted to the internet, but it's entirely in the realm of predictability and programming. So, not yet. Okay, just random thoughts. I really would like to continue this conversation about AI and the future of the mind, but if we don't understand the mind yet, we're still bound in the darkness of ignorance. You can't compare them. 对于这个人工智能和人心的对话，我很想继续讲一讲，继续研究。不过你还没有你的 large language model 还在这个无明当中，比不了。Okay, my Chinese is really limited here. Okay, let's take a look at our pilgrim. Here we go. Master Xuanzang has just been chatting with a 700-year-old Brahmin, stayed with him to study, to learn his teachings on Shastras. Since this elder was a personal disciple of Nagarjuna, and he got his teaching from the teacher personally, he could explain it really clearly, easy to understand. What a difference it makes to have clear explanations. 因为玄奘大师遇到这个700岁的婆罗门，这个老师亲自接近龙树菩萨，所以他解释中道、中论容易懂、清楚。对了，这个 what a blessing to have clear instructions that are easy to understand. Okay. He went to Chinabukti. Let's go to Chinabukti. 又从东行500余里至那菩提国。那菩提国一特舍萨那寺有大德毗尼多波拉婆，好风义善三藏，制造五蕴论义论事唯识30论事，因著14月学对法论、显宗论、理门论等。So he went 500 miles. That's a long way to the country of Chinabukti, the present Patti, in a large, very old town situated 27 miles to the northeast of Kasur and 10 miles to the west of Beas. He went to Tosasana Monastery. A virtuous monk was there named Vinita Prabha. He had good manners, well learned in the Tripitaka, composed 2 commentaries explaining the Panchaskanda Shastra and the Vijja Matrati Siddhi Tridasana Karika Shastra. Long Sanskrit name. Vijja is light. Matra Siddhi, samadhi. There are the siddhis is our abilities, powers. Let's see here. Siddhi. Tridasa Karika, the 37. Let's see here. 14. Okay, there we go. Karika Shastra. Great names. Vijamatra Siddhi Tridasa Karika Shastra. Master Xuanzang stayed there for over a year and 2 months. So when you study his life, understand that we kind of get the impression that he got to Nalanda and that was it. No, in fact, he stayed at multiple stops with multiple teachers and benefited in many places from the masters who had already digested the sutras and made their own commentaries. 所以玄奘大师呢，我们好像以为他去印度到那兰陀大学就读一读书就回来了，没有了。他到了很多不同的地方常住，尤其他对于研究佛经，然后自己写论，自己有意见，自己有自己的看法，就写论。他对于这些大德非常感兴趣。Okay. Also, what else? 14 months, the Abhidharma Samuchaya Vyakya, the Abhidharma Prakarana Sasana Shastra, and the Nyaya Dvarataraka Shastra. Nyaya is logic, okay, and other treatises, lots of shastras. That's what he was after. 大乘东南行50余里，至达摩苏法那僧伽蓝。This is 汤眼暗引 K， 僧徒300多人，学说一切有部，贤劫千佛，皆当于此地，即人天说法。Continuing his journey southwest of the big city for 50 li, he reached the Tamasavana monastery, in which lived more than 300 monks who studied the teachings of the Sarvastivadins. Right. We've covered this before. The Sarvastivadins is particularly focused on a Vinaya. They hold a different set of precepts, mostly the same, but a different emphasis. And from those precepts come various other teachings, but it's definitely one of the proud Indian Buddhist schools. And here they are in full flower, 300 monks there. So Master Xuanzang, of course, wants to find out how they cultivate so he can bring it back to China. 这个一切有部多数呢是律他们的戒律稍微不同，跟我们那个 Dharmagupta 那个四分律稍微不同。玄奘大师对他们很感兴趣，他就是希望带回去中国就保留正确完整So also the 1,000 Buddhas of the Bhadrakalpa will come here and speak Dharma for people and devas. 还有我们上次就说释迦牟尼佛第4名，他就那个贤劫千佛都会到印度来，不同的地球、不同的世界都会来讲法。OK， 释迦如来涅槃后第300年中，有迦多衍那论时，于此治法治论。In the 300th year after the nirvana of Shakyamuni Buddha, the Shastra master Katyayana composed the Abhidharma Jnana Prasthana Shastra in this monastery. Now, interestingly, these are still what are called Biendi. These are still the environs. They're the borders of India, not India proper. This is the north. He's at the edge where India meets the trade routes, the Silk Road and all. So it's often the great translators and the great Shastra masters and the great institutions are often where cultures meet, in the marketplaces and in the oases and in alongside the road, because it's the meeting of the cultures that generates the light and the interest. So you only can see something when the light shows the shadow, you get the definition, you get the angle of it, and you can see the dimensions. That's what's happening here. Master Xuanzang is not in the depths of, not in the Buddha's holy places yet. He's in the borders. He's almost, he's just at the, where currently it's Pakistan and Kashmir. Not that, Pakistan was an artificial division, the Punjab later. But this is, now the Buddha did travel and walk here, but there's this dynamic that when you get to the edge is where you can suddenly see the light, sort of, because of the shadows that it throws. 就说这个丝绸之路玄奘大师就还没有到正式印度，当时没有巴基斯坦，那个是以后才分这个Bangladesh 什么的，东边西边，那个时候没有了这是一个边地因为不同的文化碰到对话，所以就会显出这些不同的意见，然后写下这个论文很多次是这样子的，必须要到了新的地方才能看得出原来的是怎么一回事这个有光明，有物质，有影子，那个透影才能看到这个物品的它的本性。 From let's see here， 从此东北行140里，有舍那达那国，入七国，以那切罗陀那斯，有大德占得罗伐摩，那个就叫越州善救三藏，因就停4月学众士分毗婆沙。From here, northeast, 140 or 150 miles, it's Chinese miles, it's the country of Jalandhar. We saw that last week. Modern Jalandhar. Here the master went to the Nagaradhana monastery, where a virtuous monk named Chandravarman lived, well learned in the Tripitaka. He stayed for 4 months to study the Abhidharma Prakaranapada Vipasha Shastra. Abhidharma Prakaranapada Vipasha. So Master Xuanzang was so well learned. I mean, he studied all these Shastras. Now, I want to say, how come we don't know much about these Shastras? You know where you find them? In the Tripitaka. They're there. If you go look at our Chinese, let's say the Japanese Tripitaka that's there, printed in Japan, if you take a look at 100 volumes, the sutra volumes, I don't have the exact number here, the sutra portion of the 3 baskets is about 1/3. The Vinaya portion is much less than that. The Shastra portion is the majority of it, right? The Dazangjing, it's the reason being the commentaries are taking from the sutras, and they collected all these commentaries. Here we're getting their names. We don't get to hear their names very often. Look at the length of these names. 众士分毗婆沙. If you go to the Tripitaka, if you use a catalog and look at it, you will find all these works. Master Xuanzang brought them back, and they got connected. Who reads them? Pretty much, I want to say nobody, very few people, because there's so much. It's vast. The commentarial literature is waiting for, right now there are 125 of us listening. Which of us have gone through the Tripitaka to find these commentaries and figure out their point of view, their approach, their understanding of the sutras and all? It's a treasure trove waiting for us to dip in there. So anybody who is listening to my voice, who wants to master the languages, pick the languages up, and then dig in, you have a lifetime, multiple lifetimes of work waiting for you. It'll be very satisfying. And the world is waiting. Nobody has done it. Master Hua lectured 90 minutes every night, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday, and still managed to give us about 30 sutras and commentaries. And that was, he dedicated his life to it, and that was what he got through. Of course, 9 years on one, the Avatamsaka. But, I mean, there's so much waiting for us. I am not going to last before I can touch any of the commentaries. I look at the Huayan Su Chao, and for my graduate study, I studied the Dajra Dulun, commentary to the Mahaprajna Paramita Sutra, but just so superficially, just a teaspoonful out of the ocean. So I hope somebody will get inspired to do what Master Xuanzang did and study the Abhidharma Prakaranapada Vipasha Shastra, along with the other hundreds of Shastras. There's so much there waiting for us. 就说我们听到玄奘大师研究这些论，那么多论，大藏经都有， 都在我们的大藏经里边。本来三藏经律经律论，这个论部比这个经部还有律部大得多了。这些论呢，都在那儿等着我们把它打开研究。有没有今天在会，今天大众里各位呢？你们有没有研究过这个论部吗？这个是宝所，太多了，就在那儿等着谁学习这种佛教的中文佛教的日文啊，佛教的粤文啊，在那儿研究。希望各位把它当一回事我的生命没时间了，宣化上人每天不在外，在那儿讲经说法，只有30多吧，30多个经还有论，9年一部经，华严经那么这些论玄奘大师所带回来的论太多了，哇，这个论书这些宝贵，就是真的是法宝，等谁发心把它研究，然后留给我们读。Okay? All right, so you get my point. It's just waiting for somebody to take the time and effort and devote their life to expounding them for us, and then we will have them. But until then, they're just unknown, and yet here they are. Master Xuanzang gave his life to bringing them back. We should follow up and give them to living beings, right? Otherwise, they're mute. They don't exist until we read them. Let's practice like bodhisattvas, dedicate merit. Here we go. Find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Now, city of 10,000 Buddhas, we can bow to Guanyin. Here we go. Bow to the Buddhas with me. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. Alrighty, that's going to do it for us for today. See you all next week. Amitofo.
Thank you, 释法师。
Welcome back, Heng Sure, back from Taiwan. Amitofo.
Thank you.
See you all next week, everyone. Bye bye now.